Hello everyone, and welcome to tonight's presentation of OTF Connects, Teaching Through Problem Solving in Intermediate Math with Jacqueline Calder. Thank you so much for giving up what looks like a beautiful evening for most of us to be sitting at your computer learning more about how you can make math exciting and focus on the problem-solving aspect of it with your students and with Jacqueline Calder, who is a very frequent presenter with OTF Connects, and this is the third in a series that she has done on math, but Jacqueline has quite a few other sessions as well that all interrelate very well together, so we'll make sure that you get connected with some of the archived resources from those sessions. Right now, I'm just going to show where we all are tonight, right across the province in the lower parts anyway, and welcome to Lorna, who's just joined us, and oh dear, Jacqueline's just been bumped. She'll be back, that's okay. That actually gives Lorna some time for some slides to load for her. And oh, we've got some more people plotting themselves on the map. Terrific. Time will be slowing hopefully for Jacqueline, and she'll be back in a moment. And Mr. RG, I see that you've got a bit of a sound delay. I'm just going to ask you how your sound... Okay. Welcome back, Jacqueline, too. Are you all right?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Good.
Okay.
Was I the only one that was kicked out, or were...
Yep, it was just you.
Sorry about that.
It wasn't me that did it either. No, it's fine. Yeah, if that happens periodically during the session, if Jacqueline ends up having some issues, not to worry. Jacqueline will furiously log back on again, and you guys are going to have lots to do that'll allow you to be busy during any of those moments anyway. Okay, so if it's all right, we will hand things off to Jacqueline and let her get us going.
Thank you. Welcome and thank you, and I'm sorry I missed kind of that introduction there. I'm hoping that this time I will stay connected. And again, thank you for coming in from the sunshine. That was a difficult choice on a night like evening like tonight. But I'm hoping that tonight's will be kind of fun and that we can brainstorm some ideas together and come up with some ideas on creating some rich problems for our students in the intermediate grades to kind of to learn from. And the nice thing about the intermediate grades is that there's a lot of the same big ideas in mathematics that stream through them all. So the same kind of rich problems really from grade 6 through to 10 can often be used and just solved a little differently. And it provides a little bit of a more open access to some of our students. I right now am immersed entirely in grade 9 applied mathematics. In the past, I've done a couple of different positions in small communities up northern Ontario where I was a math coach and spent a lot of time in elementary schools and in secondary school classrooms working on teaching math through problem solving. And more recently in my board down here, I have been a technology consultant a few years back where I spent a lot of time in elementary, so I've seen the similarities and differences, and I kind of am aware of that some of the problems and some of the things that we talk about today will work better in some areas than others, but I try to incorporate tools and ideas that are applicable to all of our classrooms. So what my plan is for today is to go through briefly, like I'm thinking 5-10 minutes, just a kind of a quick discussion to set the stage for us on why and the how of teaching through problem solving. And then if everyone's okay with it, I'd love to go through a problem using some of the tools for BYOD. So some tools that work well on any tablet or any laptop, any type of computer or kind of tablet screen. And let's actually work through a problem that really is kind of accessible through the intermediate grades. And then at the end of that, once we've gone through that problem and used a couple different tools, look at different places online where we can find some rich problem ideas and that we can steal and edit for our classroom, and then brainstorm together some other neat prompts and ideas for problems. Is there anything anyone would like to add to that, or any comments about kind of that plan? Does that kind of work for everybody? Are there anything that you're dying to cover, would love to kind of incorporate? I'll just pause for a quick second to see if anyone's got anything to kind of add to that. Awesome. Okay. Okay. So first of all, kind of the why on why teach through problem solving. So this is a little different than teaching problem solving. And when I first started teaching, I thought I was, I started teaching probably about 14, 15 years ago. And at the time, it was just before.
And she's back.
It logged me in by itself this time.
Yes, it did. Okay, folks. So it was just when you moved to this slide, Jacqueline, that we lost your sound, so you may have to backtrack yourself a little bit.
Oh, okay. What was I talking about? That stresses me out when I get kicked out. Oh, talking about the why teach through problem solving, and it's a little bit different than teaching problem solving. But the idea of teaching through problem solving, where before we get up and post a lesson and examples on the board, before we do that, we're posing a rich problem that is accessible to each one of our students. They all have an access point into the question, and some of them are going to start to touch upon, hopefully, the area that we do want to consolidate that day. So there's a bit of a risk for teachers when they start teaching through problem solving because they're not 100% sure where the class is going to take it. And sometimes they come up with amazing solutions that are just, lead you right into the area that you wanted to consolidate and the new skill that you wanted to draw out. And sometimes they go in an entirely different direction. As a teacher, I've found that both of those scenarios are great. When they go in an entirely different direction, I realize a couple of things. Either what I had planned is not going to work, and so I had to do some quick changing on kind of what I had planned, or just that they had some really strong areas in other areas, or that the question or the problem that I posed wasn't appropriate to get to where I wanted to go. Right now I'm in a situation where there are 2 teachers in my classroom. I am one of the luckiest people on the face of this earth. I'm in an amazing program through our board that we're partnering with the ministry, and we're calling it a Math CERT program, and we have a teacher and a CERT in the classroom for co-teaching, and we don't have to be designated roles, teacher or CERT. So in both my classrooms we flex in and out of those roles, take turns teaching, take turns supporting students. So there's 2 teachers in the room all the time, and that has allowed us to really start teaching through the problem solving much more thoroughly than when you're on your own, because you have that person who's either observing a regular class. So in applied mathematics it's 24 with 2 teachers. It's amazing. Oh yeah, it's a great program. They wanted to really attack our applied mathematic marks, and not so much marks as probably a QAO achievement, and the real focus is on students with learning disabilities. So we're doing professional development embedded throughout the semester on learning disabilities while we have the 2 teachers in the classroom. But really the really rich learning comes from having a second teacher in the room and what we learn from each other. But I totally digress, sorry. The why teaching problem solving has come apparent throughout this semester to me because I've been in this in the situation with having 2 teachers in the room to try this out pretty much every day or so. We start with problems, and it really posing that problem at the beginning and seeing how students answer it or try to attack it, as opposed to getting up and giving them a solution and having them replicate it, really draws on their prior knowledge. So it really gets their minds going, and it lets me see where they come from and kind of where their strengths are and where their gaps are right before we start. It's almost acts like a little mini diagnostic every day. It really encourages our students to connect math to outside things, and you'll see that when I start posing some of our problems, is that they're outside things, not necessarily just from the textbook, not false scenarios. A lot of them are actually real scenarios from out there, and it really helps our students build confidence, because our students that are nervous to share or don't think that they're good math students might approach a problem in an entirely different method than everybody else. And those are the ones that we want to get up and share in front of the class. And so they all of a sudden their chest puff up. And we had one girl in our class last week when the other teacher asked her, said, I really want you to share. When we share our problems, our solutions to the class, I want you to make sure you're one of the groups that shares, because your answer is so different and interesting. And she just looked at her and said, really? And then and this is a student that we've been struggling with all semester. And then after, she turned to the teacher and said, thank you. It was just the confidence building. And we group our students a couple different ways. We have some very high needs in terms of IEPs in our students. So out of 24, 8 of them are on IEPs, and most of those 8 were on modified expectations in elementary. So some pretty high needs. We have some pretty high behavioral and at-risk students with attendance, and then we have a core group of students that are there and learn in the way that classrooms have learned traditionally, so their confidence is a little bit higher. So we have mixed groups all over, and then we just have some social reasons for grouping a couple of our students. So it flexes in and out throughout the semester a bit, but generally very mixed groups. So that we have some leaders in each group to get groups going, but then once those leaders, if they start to take over a group so that the other students aren't having the time to step up, we start shifting them around. I hope I answered the question. So they start making, no problem. And it really shows students what math is for, that tool for solving problems in the real world, as opposed to it being the purpose of math being to complete a worksheet to get a grade. So that kind of idea of starting with the problem and making that almost the focus or the important part has really changed the culture of the math classroom. These students aren't afraid to take a risk anymore, and it took some work. This didn't just happen the first week of class. But they're not afraid to take a risk now. They don't mind about being wrong, and they're not worried that each group has different answers to a problem, because at the end of the day, we don't actually even go up a lot of the time and put up a perfect solution. We're drawing on each group the things that we like, and then the things that we would improve upon, and then we're formulating different stuff. So we don't ever actually say, you were wrong on your answer. We're looking at how the process a lot of the time more than the solution. So just the other quick kind of piece of the conversation before we try a problem is kind of the how. So basically we provide a scenario, and there are so many resources out there that we can access to look at some problems that I'll show you in a bit. But we start with with providing a scenario. A lot of the time I show a video, or a lot of the time we have some manipulatives or some objects in front of it in the classroom, and we set up a scenario, and then we ask our students to brainstorm. Brainstorm a whole bunch of questions. What kind of questions do you have about this scenario? And then we decide on a question that we're going to investigate. I've usually decided ahead of time what the question is, and lead them to that question. And it could be, the example we're going to look at today is the sugar content in sodas. And so I might have a question, how many sugar packets, or the equivalent of how many sugar packets is in a soda. And so I would already know what we were going to kind of ask. And then the students brainstorm what they want in terms of material, information, tools, and then we go and grab those from the classroom, or we Google and pull up a picture if we need some information. And then students work in groups and they solve problems. And in my class we do this 2 different ways. Sometimes they use whiteboards and whiteboard markers. I have big, I guess they're 2 by 2, 2 foot by 2 foot, cover basically the bulk of a set of their desks together, 4 desks together, and they work on a whiteboard. And the other tool we use is a tool called Classflow. And I am going to run today's problem when we do it as a group through Classflow, so you'll get to experience as a learner. And I'm recognizing an awful lot of names in our group today, so I think some of you have probably been exposed to Classflow if you've been in any of the other math sessions that we've done. And then once the students solve the problem either in Classflow or on the whiteboard, we share them. And then, that's a great idea, Erin. Great idea, using window writers. My room is windowless. I actually have my 2x2 whiteboards. You know those sticky hooks? Like they're 3M and they stick to the wall pretty hard core, and I have these hooks around the room, and we place the whiteboards up around the room so they can bring them to their groups, or they can stand up. Each of our 8 whiteboards has a wall space. I don't have any windows in my room, but that's a great idea with the window writers. What a perfect way to a makeshift whiteboard. It's perfect. And after our group solved the problems, we share back to the class, and me and the other teacher, this is where it's always very helpful to have 2 teachers in the room, and that's one thing I've noticed from the last time I've taught the same class, is having 2 teachers in the room to pick up on what the groups are doing sure is nice. I mean, it's totally workable on your own. It's just having 2 makes it that much better. And we picked the certain groups that we kind of want to share that are leading us in the direction that we want to consolidate, or really good examples of different ways to solve a problem. And then we have them come up and share, and then the teacher consolidates, and that's where we do a lesson or a quick example that they put into their what we call their survival guide in class, where they have some examples and some vocabulary. So that's the process that we've been using, and there are materials about teaching through problem solving on the EduGains site. I just put the link in the chat. That's the ministry website for resources. So that has a whole bunch of resources or that as well. And in a couple of minutes I'm going to show you someone called Dan Meyer's blog. A lot of people who are immersed in math have learned from Dan Meyers before. And his blog talks about what he calls his 3-act math problems. And that's basically how we're following it. Yes, and that's one of the resources we're going to look at today, Madame. And then the other one is, and Kyle Pierce has been running a bunch of OTF webinars, and so there's lots of archives for you to go and look at. I'm sure because I've even mentioned this, Luis is going to start popping up in the chat and throwing up links and ideas. And he talks about, he calls now, his adaptation is 4-act math, or no, the 4-part math lesson. That's right. The 4-part math lesson. Yeah, and there's 3 of the sessions are archived, so you can look at that too. So there's all sorts of resources out there and different takes on this idea of teaching through problem solving. And on our ministry EduGains site, it pretty much talks about the 3-part math lesson. And if you drill down into the 3-part math lesson, it really is aimed at teaching through problem solving. So we just kind of adapt it for our own classroom. And that's what every teacher does, is uses adapts that daily to fit their the scenario that day. So when it comes to the BYOD aspect, and sorry, just one other little piece of background information, but from my point of view, is that I'm at a high school right now where we just asked all of our grade 9s to bring devices this year, meaning every one of our grade 9s have a laptop or a tablet. We had to provide a good chunk of those, and we just provided them with like 7-year-old laptops, completely wiped clean with Windows 8 on them. So a lot of them have really slow laptops, but it was pretty low socioeconomic area for our school. But really struggle with the idea of using the technology for good as opposed to just replicating worksheets all the time. And not that practice is a bad use of technology, just we didn't want our classrooms, and math had the tendency, with every student having a device, has a tendency very quickly to become very drill and kill using the technology if we are going to be using the technology all the time. And we were really worried about that. And so we really looked at how are we going to use this technology to support the teaching through problem solving, the collaborative aspects of math, the creativity, especially with our applied students. And in order to do that, we ended up using this tool Classflow, and we looked at trying to move beyond the drill and kill of mastery games, the multiple choice assessments, and accessing teacher creative material. And that was really how we kind of kept coming up with using technology in math. We kept coming up with these ways for math, because that barrier of writing on the screen can be, or doing math, right, doesn't really always work with a text entry type thing. So we struggled with that, and we ended up with this kind of method of using different tools. So I would like to try us, or get us trying to use a tool tonight. And Luis has put it in the chat, the link, except don't follow that link quite yet. Because what we're going to do is we're going to use Classflow as if you were the students. I'm going to run a problem and share some content with you. And what Classflow does, actually, can I get a little green check mark if you've heard of or used Classflow before? Great. Awesome. Perfect. Excellent. Okay. So this will be fun then, and I'm going to apologize in advance for any insane computer blow-ups. Not actual blow-ups, but just if we have some little meltdowns. Basically with Classflow, I am going to run some slides. Let's say in Classflow they're actually called cards. But I'm going to run some cards, slides, and I'm going to push them to your computer using Classflow. So I'm going to give you a link. You're going to go there. You're going to log into Classflow, and then when I switch slides, it's going to push them out to you. The other thing it can do is it can push you out questions, or it can push you out a blank screen, and you can draw on it and send it back to me. And so Classflow works on any laptop and any tablet. It doesn't work very well on a phone screen because it's too small, and so it doesn't. Most phones, like the iPhone, they don't have an app for Classflow, so you can't use it on an iPhone. Some of the bigger phones might let the tablet apps work on them, like for Android and stuff, but it really is designed for the tablet or a computer. But it is a great way to start to integrate some of the technology into part of our lessons. So here is the link that if you could open up your browser window, so Google Chrome would be great if that's what you're using, but any modern browser window will do. And if you could open up just your browser window while you're listening to me chat here, and you can click on that link to go there, or you can paste that link into the window. It's going to ask you for a join code, and it's going to ask you for your name. I am going to get the join code right now and bring it back to the chat. Your join code is in the chat now. It's QQJD6. So you just put in your first name and you put QQJD6 as your join code and click join. And I can see one of you have already joined. And when you do that, 4 of you have already joined, all you're going to see is pretty pictures. So don't worry that you don't see anything yet. You're going to see, I think, a pretty picture of a beautiful ocean. You'll see a pretty picture maybe of Big Ben. And you might see Easter Island. And there's different pretty pictures that pop up. I'm going to put the code in there for you again. It is QQJD6. Okay, so there's 6 of us in there. That is awesome. That's awesome, Luis. 7 of us are in there. This is great. And then if you have any problems, Luis, it's a different join code for every class that I create. And this is a non-class, and so it keeps the same join code for me.
So does that mean that when you've created one for your actual class, that if you do Classflow on Monday and then again on Wednesday, if they're on the same device, then on Wednesday they're going to just go straight in and kind of skip that step?
Yeah, so we have the join code on a piece of paper taped up somewhere in our room, and the kids have memorized it. Yeah.
So it just stays the same. That's cool. Thanks.
You got it. And it's different. So I have 2 different classes that I use Classflow with. One class has one code and one other class has the other code. How blank? Is it got pretty pictures, or is it entirely blank, like just like white or something? Like, okay, it might be, yeah, it might be a bandwidth. If not, then leave it and go back and try it again. I am going to run parallel the same things in the PowerPoint here, just in case someone folks can't get in to the Classflow. So we do have backups. You're not going to miss anything if you can't do it, other than just a cool factor. All right, I'm just going to do a quick check and see. So we've got 8 of us in there now. Is anybody else having difficulty getting in? Please don't worry if you are having difficulty getting in. Let me know. We'll see what we can do to help you. This is entirely new for all of us, so it's going to be awkward, to say the least. Okay. So looks like most of us are in. I'm just going to wait a sec there for Luke, see if he gets in. I'm assuming that's Luke, Luke L. And then in a couple of seconds, I'm going to push you out. Yeah, that's the site. Let me just, it's that classflow.com/student or /learner. Okay, I'll keep going. I'll keep the PowerPoint in this room on the same page as we are, and then you can try again and see how it goes. Okay. So I am going to push the first slide out to you. I'm going to push the one that's on the screen right now. I'm going to hit send card. So what should happen is that you should all get pushed onto your Classflow that image of a one-way sign and the drilling, mastery games, multiple choice assessment, access teacher created material. Did anybody, can I get a green check mark in the Blackboard Collaborate room if that kind of worked for you? We'll see if that came through to most people's computers or not. Okay, good. So it's coming through to most people. This is the part in my classroom the first time I do it with my students, and they all think I've hacked their computer. It's very entertaining to watch them go and think that I've hacked their computer because I'm sending things out to it. So once in a while, your computer screen might glitch out. You might not get a card that I send. This actually does happen, you know, once a day, maybe once a class, a couple times a class with my students in the room, and they find that they can refresh or rejoin sometimes, and then it connects back again, or sometimes our next step is I just look over the shoulders with another student. But usually it works for most of the time. So I am going to switch our slide here and switch our, I'm going to send you a new card now, and it's the setting the context. So we've talked about the how and the setting the context. Today we're going to use a video to set our context. And I'm going to send you another slide now. And this is another place that we're going to use technology, is the sharing of our, here we go, sharing data, sharing results, data collaboration, sharing results, sharing our data, and sharing collaboration. So some ways that we use the BYOD technology when we're doing our problem solving is we use a Padlet to gather information from different groups that we can all see on what time. We use a Google Doc to collect data sometimes, or a Google Sheet to collect, like a spreadsheet to collect information. So we use the technology to set the problem sometimes, to share our results, and to collaborate. And then at the end of a problem, we will sometimes use the technology. I'm going to push out a new card here as a what's called a digital band show, which is Japanese for board work, or a consolidation. And we will use a tool like Classflow here, or Pear Deck or Nearpod, which are similar tools. Sometimes we use OneNote, which is in the Office, the Microsoft Office suite, and sometimes we use EduCreations. And we use that when students are sharing their work, or if the teachers, as the teacher starts to move into consolidating the math concepts. So we're going to look at some of these different tools. And our last how we use the technology I've just sent out in Classflow. and here we go, is investigating. So sometimes our problems look a little different in our classroom, and this has been a focus for this semester, is how do we get students to do kind of that investigative or inquiry aspect in math. And so we use online tools like Desmos or Minecraft or Tinkercad, which is 3D design for printing, 3D printing. And sometimes we use Geometry Sketchpad, which is a ministry licensed tool. And sometimes we use a spreadsheet for investigating. So we use all those different ways to use our digital or our BYOD devices to kind of teach through the problem solving. So what I would like to do now is to actually try a problem. And so this is how we are going to try this. Let's see. Okay. I am going to, sorry, I'm balancing between a couple different windows here, so I'm trying to make this work. Let me know if I'm making any mistakes. The card I just sent to you has a video on it, and I'm going to grab the video and put it in the chat for you, Luke. And, oops. Sorry, I'm just grabbing the link to the video for you here. And I'm going to put it in the chat. Okay, there's a YouTube link in the chat now for you. So, I'm hoping that everyone got a video link set out to them in Classflow. And on your screen, you see a black screen with a little triangle on it, and you can play the video. And we're going to each take the 45-second video or whatever to watch it on your slide, and then come back into Collaborate and click on your purple round icon to come back into Collaborate and put a green check mark when you've seen the video. In our class, we just watch this up on the projector with the speakers when I do it in class, but because we're all in different places, we can all watch our video from different places. So if everyone, I'll just stop talking for a minute and we can all watch the video and then come put a green check mark. So I will bite my tongue now and be quiet. Okay. I've got a lot of green check marks now. Awesome. So when I showed that in my class about a week or so ago, they're all screaming, "Ew, gross!" Oh yeah, lots of room, lots of opportunity in that problem, Louise, for you know, grade 6 right through to grade 10, or 7 through 10. So after we watched that in our class, we had a question, brainstormed a bunch of questions. Okay, what kind of questions? No, maybe YouTube, Luke, just kept playing. Sorry. You can stop that video now. And so we brainstormed a bunch of questions, and really the question in that particular scenario was actually laid out right in the video. How many sugar packets fit into that 20-ounce soda bottle? And so we directed to that question. But on most questions, most problems, my students brainstorm a bunch of different questions. On that one, it was pretty much laid out for us. So what we did is, I'm going to go into Classflow. Our next kind of question, or this is what you guys can do as students, is I'm going to send you what is called a poll. And I am going to ask you to enter a number. So on your Classflow window, if you could enter a number that is as close to as many sugar packets you think will fit in a 20-ounce bottle of soda. If you can't work in Classflow, you could just type it in the chat if your Classflow is acting funny. But most people's Classflow window should come up, and there should be a little text box that you can enter in a number and then hit submit. And if you could guess as close as you can. And what I see right now is a little scroll bar, and it's telling me that about half of you have entered in a guess. And there's no right or wrong here. We're just getting students' minds on. Just guess any answer. How many sugar packets do you think would fit into a 20-ounce bottle of soda? Sorry, Lisa. Awesome. So I'm going to give a couple more seconds, then I'm going to close the poll. So maybe another 20 seconds. I'll go through and show you the answers. Right now, what I see is a bar that just shows me approximately how many of you've answered. I don't know which ones yet. The same screen just shows there after you've submitted until I stop the poll. These are great questions. Okay, and I'm going to stop the poll in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, I've stopped the poll. Okay, now, Luis, how crazy do you think I would be to try to share my screen tonight and go and show what some of these look like now?
You could try it and we could see what happens, or you could try using the screenshot tool that's in Blackboard. Whatever you think is going to work better. If you need to show something that has movement, then let's try the screen share and see what happens.
Okay, I'm going to try it. I'm going to try it. If I get kicked out, folks, only because it looks like, I don't know if it's my bandwidth or my internet connection up here in my my rural area is acting funny, but I'll be right back if I get kicked out. But I'm going to try and show you now what Classflow looks like, because when we do this in class, we project, and I'm going to show people's answers. So I am going to, if you're in the Blackboard Collaborate window now, so our classroom window, I am going to go and try and share this. Wish me luck. Luis, can I get a verbal confirmation that you can see my screen?
So far, so good.
Okay, so this is what Classflow looks like. This time that you've been looking at your window, what you get one of these cards pushed out to you. And what I was doing was scrolling up and down these cards and pushing them out to you. So when I wanted to push this one out to you, I tapped on it, and then I clicked this little arrow here, and it sent it out to you. So now that would show up in your Classflow. When I did this one, the guess as close as you can, I hit the poll button, and then I chose a number poll for that one. I can do a creative poll that lets you draw on the screen, a word seed we're going to actually do in a bit, where you brainstorm a bunch of words and then we can group them together. You can do a quick on the fly, true or false, or yes, no, don't know. You can do multiple choice, a scale, or a text answer. I'm going to click up here to view responses. And here's our guess as close as you can. So we have 30, 33, 12, 15, 60, 20, 35, all great guesses. And in our class we would maybe grab the graphical view and we could see if we had more than one student. When we have more than, like if we have 24 students, we tend to have some duplicates or some areas where more people think. So we have a quick discussion about that. And then I'm going to close this window and I'm going to push another poll out to you. I'm going to say, guess a number that you know is too high. And so I've sent that out on Classflow now. If you can, you could hop out onto your Classflow window and just go type in an answer quickly that you know is too high. So how many sugar packets would absolutely, definitely be too high? And I just want you to be able to see the bar in here as you add a solution. Everything working okay still, Luis?
Yep.
Good. Okay, So I'm not seeing this blue bar move, and this is actually one of the common glitches that I do have in my classroom, so it doesn't surprise me. Sometimes it, for some reason, just doesn't pick up, but the last time what it did is it moves along, and as every person answers, this blue bar fills up so that I can see what percent of the class has filled out the response. But I am going to close this poll now in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, and then we can view poll responses. Why not? There we go. And we can take a look. So these are numbers, and when we graph this one, we actually will have lots of people thought 100 is most certainly too high. Some people thought 200 is definitely too high, 80, 60. So lots of great conversation could be had here about the numbers and what that would mean. Here we go. And the next question that I would ask, I'm not going to send this out as a poll. Ask students, give an answer you know is too low. And they would put in an answer that they know is too low. But here's what I am going to ask. I'm going to send you out, and I'm going to send this out to you as a word seed. So I'm going to start a poll. I'm going to start a word seed. And I'm going to ask you, in that text box that you get now, sorry, there's motorcycles outside my house. In that text box that you have, tell me what information, tools, or resources you need to be able to solve this problem. What do you want me to get for you in our classroom? What do you need to know to solve? Do you need information about anything? Do you need objects in the classroom? Do you need math tools? Do you need math manipulatives? What do you need for your group to be able to solve this problem? And students can enter in, and you guys can enter in now if you want. Can I have, if anyone can 2 people enter in a calculator for me or something like that? So that, well, it doesn't really matter, but I want to show the grouping of answers. Okay, and I'm going to stop the poll in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, and now I'm going to go view poll responses. And here are our word seed responses. And automatically, oh, this is great. So it automatically groups any that are identical. So this one had 3 calculator, and they automatically joined up. And I would think that nutritional info from soda and how much sugar is in a package, those 2 are alike. So I'm going to group those together myself. And so we can start to word seed. We can draw on the screen here if we wanted to make connections or start to do a bit of a web. And we can move these around. Yeah, maybe even the total sugar should be connected with that one. But anyway, so you can see how the word seed lets you kind of have a conversation based on what people have asked for. I'm going to close this now. Okay, so the next card I'm sending out to folks is the Coca-Cola nutritional information. And this is a 20-ounce bottle of soda. What I actually did in my classroom is I had a shopping basket, and I had it filled, or a shopping bag, and it was filled with 12 different sizes, shapes, actually it was probably more like 18, sizes, shapes, and types of beverages. I had a juice box of chocolate milk, I had a juice box of apple juice, I had one of fruit punch, I had Gatorade, the low sugar Gatorade, I had one of the small little cans of orange soda, Sprite, ginger ale, Coke, Pepsi. I had a Snapple iced tea. What else did I have? Oh, Red Bull. Something else. Oh, iced coffee. And a vitamin water. That was it, and a vitamin water. So we had all of those in the classroom. So instead of using this information here on this nutritional picture, we actually used actual nutritional information. And each group did a couple different types of beverages all around the room. And they also got given, I'm going to send you out a new piece of information now. There is the nutritional information on a packet of sugar. And I had packets of sugar in the room that they could look at and to use the nutritional facts off of the bag from. And then groups went, oh, Louise?
Quick question, Jacqueline.
Yep.
Mr. RG, he didn't see his response when you showed up all the text responses. Is that something that sometimes happens? They've already clicked submit, but it doesn't go?
It was either that, it might just be that my computer mostly is probably having some internet bogging down because I'm streaming a couple different things here, that it probably, I just didn't give it enough time to reach me, if that makes sense. There isn't usually much of a delay, but I bet you I cut that poll off before it came through. Does that answer that? Sorry.
That could be it. It sounds as though his would have been one of the earliest responses, but maybe that still explains it. So, thanks, Jack.
That's unusual for that to happen, but I'm sure it probably does happen. I probably don't notice often when there's 24 of them in the class. Okay, sorry. And then, so we have the nutritional information here, and then basically students are going to, that's not what I wanted to send you, here we go. Basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to send a creative poll out to everybody. And so on the screen now, pretend you're in a group and pretend you're actually solving this problem, and just script, and you can use the pen tool down the side. You can also use the picture tool. So if one of my students is working on a tablet and they decided that they prefer to use the whiteboard for collaborating, they can take a picture of their whiteboard and put it onto their Classflow submission here instead. But you can draw on the screen, you can use shapes, and basically we ask students to show their work, show their math, show their solution, and then click submit when they're done. For the sake of our class tonight, if you could just scribble something on the screen, it would be great, and then click the arrow at the top right of your screen that's either blue or green. If you could just submit that, that would be excellent. And then I will show you what it looks like when we look at these responses. Don't go anything crazy too detailed because I am going to cut people off in about a minute. So when we did this in our class, all of my students were working on different sodas, but it would work just the same with just using the picture and the nutritional information. It's just that I'll show you the next step, what we did in our class to add on to the problem. Okay, I'm going to close this poll in 10 seconds. So if you could just kind of wrap up what you're doing and hit the little arrow button. I'm going to close it up in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and I'm stopping it now. Excellent. And I started doing the countdown thing. It's just a habit now because the first couple of times I just went and closed it and cut some kids off, and they did not like that. They were very upset. And fair enough, they should be. I didn't give them fair warning. I just went and cut them off. Okay. Awesome. Oh, sorry, Louise, go for it. Ask a question.
You can reopen a poll, right? Does it reopen the exact poll, or does it so that more submissions can come in, or does it delete what was already there?
It deletes everything. So I can go and do the poll again, but it's a new poll, so everyone has to enter in again. Okay. So the kid that had half of his screen colored that he spent 10 minutes coloring the first time because he wanted to play with the pen tool, and then just started to type in his solution at the end, and I went and cut him off. I didn't get any of his work sent in to me. So that was why I start doing the countdown now. Awesome. So as you can see right now, I can go through and I can pull up anyone's solution, and what I can do when I'm doing that as well is I can grab the pen tool and can start drawing on the screen as well. The other thing I can do is that I can send out that card to our main lesson, and now it's in our main lesson and we can revisit again after. So let's add this one in there as well. There we go. Now I'm going to go back to our main lesson. And so now I have, so say I wanted everyone to see this version of this method of solving the problem. So now I've sent it out to you on your screen to see it big, or on your own device. And so students can now see a different way of solving, someone else's way of solving the problem. Leads to some great discussions. Different ways of solving problems. In my class, what we did, just because we are grade 9 and we were moving beyond some of just the basic division problems, we wanted to compare. So we made this Google Doc. So we had a Google spreadsheet, and students went in and added in their type of beverage, their container size, and their grams of sugar, and then the equivalent numbers of packets. And they put that into the Google Sheet. And then what we did, so what I'm going to do here then is I'm actually going to send you out a Google Doc, and let's see if this works. This only works on some devices. Oh, I can see you all in that Google Doc right now. See if you can type into that Google Doc on your device. You can delete any of this stuff. This is just a copy of it. So I mean, I can go in and delete. So can you edit that Google Doc? Some devices you can, some you can't. I can on the screen, but go for it if you can. Maybe you guys don't have editing rights. Maybe I didn't change them. Let's see. No?
Yeah.
Okay, so you can't actually.
Yeah, I'm just finding you can click around, but not edit.
But not edit. Okay. I have a feeling that's probably, I might have actually forgotten to change the editing rights. But anyways, so you can share this back out to them, and they can investigate it and look at it. So you can send websites out via Classflow is what I was really trying to do here, just to show you, is that you can put a website and push it out to them so that they can look at that web page on their own screen, but they're stuck on that kind of one web page. The next kind of step in our problem, and I'm going to push it out to everybody, was the question, is that a fair comparison? Was it fair to compare 222 milliliters of Coke to 710 of Gatorade? And all sorts of answers popped up. No, they're different sizes, blah, blah, blah. They intuitively knew that that wasn't an essential comparison, which let us set up the perfect question for grade 9 applied mathematics was, okay, well then you tell me how much sugar would have been in your drink if you had 571 milliliters of it, which is a 20 ounce, I think, close to anyways, a 20 ounce bottle. And so students had to kind of find a way to figure out, okay, so my 222 grams or milliliters had 7 packets. How many packets of sugar was in my 571 milliliters? And then again, we had students do it either on Classflow or their whiteboards and send them in. We talked about the different methods, and this brought up lots of different methods because some students used a unit rate, some students did tried proportional reasoning, some did division. It was great. We could do all sorts of comparison, and the expectation in applied mathematics is that students can set up and solve a ratio multiple methods, so it's perfect. And then we went, and I'll push this out to you, and then they went into the Google Doc and they filled it out. And this allowed us to have an actual comparison and a discussion about sugar in drinks. And then types of sugar. Is the type of sugar in apple juice the same as the type of sugar in fruit punch, and that type of stuff. And it led to some really cool conversation. This project was, or problem, sorry, was a really fun one with students that are always walking in with different sodas at 8 o'clock in the morning. It was a fun one. And then we had this one last video here where students could compare. So they knew that the cola in the video was a 20 ounce bottle, which was 571 milliliters. And they could check that. So if you want to take a minute and watch that video, then by all means go for it. And I will play it here. You won't hear the sound from it, but you can see it on this screen if you want, because it'll fill out the numbers for you. And then they see how close their soda was to this one. Oh, okay, so this type of soda they did in the commercial, the 16 packs, was their soda, was their beverage more or less.
The refresh rate of watching a movie through application sharing is not awesome.
Oh, sorry.
I was just kind of realizing that
I did it for, yeah, I did that for Luke's benefit because I didn't have the link to that on hand, so I wanted him to see the answers. Sorry.
That's okay. I'll find the link for folks you can catch it later.
Yeah, I'm going to share you the resource page that has the video on it. It's just that you have to download the video. someone else has posted it on YouTube, so I was just going to grab it on YouTube for him. But I'm just about to share the link in about 2 seconds, anyways. But sorry, that was, I guess, pretty painful to watch. So, anyways, I'll push this one out for you. And so then, after we watched that, I consolidated the lesson. And you could consolidate the lesson on any of these. I consolidated the lesson on how to set up a ratio. That was what I wanted our students to see, was that we set up our ratios with the same, our sugar on top and our milliliters on bottom, or the other way around, and then we worked into solving ratios the next day. I'm going to pause for a second here and just come into the chat. Questions, ideas, thoughts at this point, other than the fact that the video quality was awful? Any thoughts on this, on these problems? Having worked through one now, the technology, adding, distracting. I know for those of you that it wasn't working for, it was definitely detracting from the lesson. But and there are times when the technology isn't worth using. There's time when it is. But any thoughts on this? Yeah, the answers for that one. Yeah, great if it works. Yeah, if your bandwidth works, absolutely. This works just as fine with whiteboards. Absolutely. Yes, I have my Classflow projected at the front of the room, and then they have their own ones connected. Absolutely, so that they can all provide their answers. Or sometimes we just do it with one device per group when we're doing group problem solving, and they connect it that way. A lot of the time they're each connected because we'll do a quick exit ticket on the computer after, so I can have something to look at and see if they understood the concept or not. My students have a wide variety, but they all have a device. They all have laptops or tablets. That's part of our program at our school, is that they have to bring something, or we provide them with an 8-year-old or 7-year-old, I think, laptop that we've wiped clean and has Windows 8 and nothing else on it. So some of them have really slow laptops, but we also have, and I got a grant for this, but I don't know if you've ever heard of a Wacom tablet. It's like a mouse, but it's a pen and a writing pad. Artists use them. We have 24 of those in our classroom. So students can plug them into their computers and then draw on Classflow. So they don't have to use their mouse for the writing. They can actually use this pen and writing input device. It's called, I'll write the word out here in the chat because it's a funny word, Wacom tablet, thanks. Yeah, and so my students use that with their laptops for math. And then some of the students that have tablets use tablets and then just write on the screen. It's a nice balance. I'm in a very technology-rich, very rich environment, and that's not the way it has always been. It's just because we said that every kid has to bring in their own device, and then on top of that I got this grant to start incorporating creativity into, and critical thinking and problem solving, integrated and applied mathematics, that let me get those Wacom tablets to make the technology useful for math. But even if I had 5 or 6 iPads or Android tablets in my classroom, this could work using a tablet per group or a laptop per group. Okay, let's see. I'm going to send out some links to you now. So the first link isn't showing up on my screen, of course. Let me just try something here.
Oh, there's a good question while you're looking for your stuff there, Jacqueline.
Yep.
Lisa's asked, she said she missed the first part because, Lisa, you had some connection issues that got resolved eventually and wondered how to get on Classflow. So we'll post the resources for you, but did you explain how to set up the teacher end of things?
No, I'm going to give you a quick tour of that at the very end. And then Classflow is free, first of all, so the cheers go up in the room. Is absolutely free, and there is a archived hour-and-a-half session like tonight's session on OTF that walks you through step by step. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you like a quick visual just so you can see what it's like, but I'm not going to have time to walk you through step by step. But our Classflow, if you go back and watch the Classflow archived OTF session, if Classflow is one of the tools you decide is worth your time learning how to use, then Louise will post that up. Awesome. and then we'll share that. So that would be great. So we'll do that at the end. Okay, so I am pushing out a website to you right now. So Dan Meyer, we talked about him at the beginning, and somebody, I forget who now, mentioned the 101 questions. And he has these, he's starting to accumulate. He's really good at taking video or making video or using video like this commercial and editing them and turning them into problems that we can use for engaging math. And so this sugar packets page, oh, sorry, I meant to post the link in the chat as well. This is the link to what we're looking at in Classflow. And it is a resource page where he puts the Act 1 video, the question, we're getting the hook, ideas on prompts for students, and then he has a file here that's the picture of the sugar content from the Coke bottle. Then he calls that the Act 2, giving the resources that the students asked for. So the images are there, sugar content, and then the answer, and then a sequel. Sometimes he could he provides ideas for extending that problem in class. And so he has these resource pages set up for a whole bunch of problems that I'll give you the link to in a second. And this is where I got all this information. So this problem, when I did in class, other than buying all those different sodas and sugar packets, was fine-tuning the consolidation lesson and the exact questions that I wanted to ask my students to get to the math that I wanted. But these resources are out there, which is great to be able to pull up on those. I'm going to forward you out another one to look at now. There we go. I'm going to put the link to it in the chat as well. The popcorn picker. This is one that I did on the second day of school with my class because they had a lot of inherent math knowledge about what this would be to get started, and it was a great way to just start setting the tone for our class. The popcorn picker one is one where he takes a piece of 8.5 by 11 paper and folds it widthwise and lengthwise to create a popcorn container, and then asks you which one would you prefer, which one has more. And students, what do they want? Well, they wanted popcorn, so I gave each group a bag of popcorn. Microwave popcorn, ew. Anyway, sorry. Paper, they want paper. Here's your paper. Tape, here's your tape so they can make the containers. Ruler, here's your ruler. Then finally they're like, oh, we want to know how to calculate the volume of a cylinder. And so they asked for the formula. So I gave them the grade 9 Aqueo formula sheet that they kept for the rest of the semester. It's great. They were asking for all the right things. And all the materials we needed were right here, other than consolidating what I wanted them to get out of it, which was actually using a formula for volume and comparing. So that was another great problem. It's funny, I have a microwave in my house because it's my, I don't have a proper fume hood, I'm such a science teacher, exhaust over my stove when I moved into my house. That microwave was just there as the exhaust and I've never changed it. And I don't have a range hood. Anyways, then I don't use my microwave. I do everything without a microwave. But the night before this lesson, I actually sat there and popped 12 bags of popcorn. It was disgusting. Okay, so the next idea, or the next page I'm going to push out to you here. I'm going to put the link in the chat as well. This is Dan Meyer's idea of finding problems as well. So what he says is that, this is a blog post of his where he takes another problem that I did in my class. He takes this textbook though, and he says our textbooks actually have great problems in them. They have great problems in them. It's just that they're giving too much information. They're not setting they're not real life because they're forced every piece of information. We scaffolded everything instead of letting the kids actually find this information or decide what information they need. Everything's just kind of there. And so he says, we can take these textbook problems and ideas and just pare them right down. So here's what he did with this. He calls this one, Will It Overflow? And it's this spaghetti and meatballs, and is it going to overflow out of the pot? Great for looking at volume of a cylinder, volume of a sphere. And here's what he said he did. Took the textbook, reduced the literacy demand, added perplexity. So his visual was a video of him actually making spaghetti sauce and leaving it, an inch down from the lip of the pot and adding in a whole bunch of meatballs. And he stops the video right as he's about to dump the meatballs in. And then he lowers the floor on the task. So in the textbook, they have to jump right to a calculation, whereas students can get their way to the calculation when they're working in groups without having to calculate right off the bat. Adds the intuition where you're guessing and making educated guesses. What's a value you know is too high, too low, and then he talks about some modeling and answer key, and then he gives and shares the video with you. So this is just another, and here's the images that he gives them if they ask for it. So that students can start doing some calculating, and not every group's going to get an answer. And when I did it in my class, many groups didn't quite get to an answer. But one group did manage to find the volume of a sphere, and one group managed to find the volume of the spaghetti sauce, and then one group found out the volume of what was left in the, so we could put it all together and use it. But if I just given them that textbook question, they kind of all would have been overwhelmed. But yeah, so that's kind of, I'm just, my goal right now is to provide you with some links and some ideas on how to find these problems or to create these problems on our own. And the idea isn't having to always come up with them on our own, but that to use like textbook as a resource, but just to shift what it's asking, or to use Dan Meyer's stuff because it's great. And I think that is the next link that I'm just about to give you here. Oh no, sorry, there's one more that I found that was really kind of fun. And this is the 101 page. So some of his resources look like the last couple that I shared. And then there's this one that I'm just going to put the chat in right now. This is the 101 questions. And this is, I searched this web page and the 101 questions, and I looked for, I think I searched algebra grade 9 or something. Anyways, there's a great video of a hot dog eating kind of on the spur competition. It's actually quite funny, gets the kids' attention, and he puts in notes, Act 1, Act 2, Act 3, a whole bunch of sequel questions, and then all sorts of people are interacting. So the idea is that there's this whole culture online about these, coming up with these questions, these rich math problems that we can find in real world. And these people that edit videos so much better than I do, or could, are doing, you know, are making these that I can use in my classroom. It's great, these videos. Okay, now I think the link I'm sending you, here we go. Okay. That link that I've just sent you, I'm just about to put it in the chat. Actually, that is a spreadsheet of all of Dan Meyer's 3-act math tasks. You see there's another tab at the top called Other People's, and he gives them a title, and then he has a suggested question, and you can look through any of them. And they all take you to a resource page with video or images to use. So you might want to bookmark that one. The link's in the chat as well there if you want it. And we'll give you the PowerPoint from tonight that has all these links in it, so that you can go back and look through it, no problem. We'll make sure you have that. And these are all sorts of great problems that you can play with and go through. Okay, and then the last link here I wanted to give you. This link is a link to the home page of that 101 questions page. So I'm putting it in the chat. Every time you go right to the 101 questions page, a different question comes up on your screen, and it asks you to come up with what's the first question that comes to your mind. But you don't have to do that if you don't want to. I suggest doing it. It's kind of fun actually. But you can see what other people questions are asking and what questions come to mind. But you can search, and I can search, now these are American grades, but I can search ones that have a lesson already, and I could search, I don't know, let's just do algebra. I think it's kind of a bit vague, but anyways, and so then you click on one, and there you go. There's a video or that might be a question? Or a picture? Yeah, that one's just a picture. But they're going to have different stuff, and so you can look through John Orr. He has great videos. You can look up. And the questions, images that they have. Well, this one's about ordering on a menu and then writing an expression to represent the order. Some very creative people out there with all sorts of great video and editing ideas and creativity. It's absolutely wonderful. So the 101 questions is another page or site to use for sure. And lastly, I'd love to spend a few minutes right now, if everyone is game, looking at adding any of our own ideas. So I'm getting the link here right now, posting it into here. But this is a Padlet right here, so that you can double click anywhere on the screen and you can type stuff, add a picture, add a link. I'm going to trash that one. But so right here I put a link to the 101 questions. Right here I put a link to that Dan Meyer resource page. This one here was one of the specific 101 questions, I think, and it was Angry Bird quadratics that got my attention. Earlier this week, the teacher I teach with came flying into my classroom, literally jumping up and down. You'll never guess what I found. You'll never guess what I found. You'll never guess what I found. What, Jen? And she says, look what I found, and it's this lizard that she found at the dollar store, and it says grows up to 600% its original size on it. So she goes, how great of a problem will that be on Friday? So they have to, what mathematical questions could they, brainstorm mathematical questions. We're hoping what we're going to guide them to is going to be either how big will it be when it's done, or what size water container do they need to put it in so that it has room to grow. And so they're going to use, this will consolidate our percent, fraction, decimal, and ratios material. And so we're going to, dollar store, we went and got a few more. Every group will get to play. How long will it take to grow? Absolutely. And actually what we're going to do, I'm going to try to do this. Our kids are doing this on Friday, and they're going to do all those guesses, and then we're going to throw their thing, lizards in the water, leave it over the weekend. But I'm going to try and set up a tripod with an iPad and with a time lapse. So it takes a picture every, it takes a picture every half hour or hour over the weekend, so that we can see how far it grew, how much it grew throughout over the weekend. So sometimes just taking a picture, even if I didn't have access to have that in my classroom, we can use the picture. But yeah, I could set up a live stream, but the idea is that I want it recorded so that we can, that's a smart idea. I don't know if my bandwidth over the weekend if it would last all weekend without glitching out, but that's a great idea. But sometimes we find these problems in the weirdest places, right? It was the dollar store. And it's great. So we're excited for that one. But my idea here was with the Padlet is that if you wanted to go to that link and add any other ideas you have, this isn't going to go anywhere. Let's keep this Padlet up and running for a bit. And any other resources to problem ideas, like websites that have ideas for problems on it, or pictures that you take like that one, throw them up here. Let's just share some more ideas. And this page can grow and expand if we just move around and add more pictures. It'll keep growing. We might as well add some stuff up here. Be kind of interesting. I'm just going to come into the chat here, take a look. And I'm going to ask people to think about what kind of ideas do you guys have? Any other ideas for problems? Have you tried any fun problems in class? I'd love to hear some information. That's cool. That's perfect. Yep, grocery stores are great for math, aren't they? Well, these are some great ideas, folks. If you have a sec, actually, I can copy and paste some of those ideas from the chat here, but double tap somewhere on that Padlet page and throw them up there. Those are great ideas. Absolutely great ideas. Oh, okay. Sorry. I think I'm going to leave my screen share now. Let me just double check with my Classflow how that's going. So maybe what's happening, I'm trying to get my 1,000,001 different screens to play nicely together. What I'm thinking is that the Padlet might not work within Classflow. So maybe why don't we Oh, that would also do it. You're having the same problem I have with so many windows open. I'm going to stop screen sharing right now. I'm also going to close the Classflow. Let's finish up our conversation back with the PowerPoint back in the Blackboard Collaborate room. So I'm going to close Classflow. I'm going to which will kick you all out. I'm going to close my screen share. So give me 2 seconds to do that. While you do that, if you want to go to this link, where did the link to the Padlet go? Here it is. I'm going to post it again. And all these awesome ideas that are popping up in the chat, keep them coming. And the chat's fine. I can pull ideas from the chat and throw them in the Padlet, or feel free to go to the Padlet and access them. I'm just going to stop my Classflow now. I'm out. I'm done. Woohoo! And now I'm going to stop my screen sharing as well. Wow, there we go. I'm impressed. The bandwidth really steps up after a scary start. Where are we? Oh, yeah, okay. Okay. Thanks. Okay. I think we're all back. Got Classflow or we're looking on the Padlet, either or. That's some great resources and ideas that you guys have thrown in the chat here. Ones I missed entirely. Neat. We're going to have to make sure that these ideas make it to that Padlet as well. So I will. I'm going to send this chat to myself after, Elise, if you could help me remind me. I'd love to send this chat to myself so that I can go through and add some to the Padlet if I didn't make it in. That's great. Awesome. Any other thoughts or ideas from folks on problems? The only other thing I had here kind of planned for a discussion topic was the idea of using the BYOD tools for the investigation or the inquiry side of things. And I was just going to talk about a few of the different tools and to talk about the Classflow resources, and talk about Classflow a bit as a teacher. Okay, so I'll talk about what's on the screen right now, and then I'll talk about the Classflow. So another thing for BYOD in a class where you're trying to teach through problem solving is that investigation side. And a lot of people have heard of Desmos as maybe more so in high school, and it's a great graphing online, like graphing calculator, where you can put in an equation and it graphs it for you, or you can put in a table of data or values and it graphs it for you, and then you can do multiple. So you can see them different colors over top of each other. And it's free and it works on pretty much any device. There's apps for tablets and works on Chromebooks and it works everywhere. It's really, really, really good tools, and they have a really good help page. One thing a lot of people don't realize, though, is that they also have this whole teacher side, and it's these teacher activities. And they have like ready-made activities. So I was looking for something to work on substituting and to really kind of get my students thinking about using equations as equations, to like making their own equations, sorry. And they have, under the teacher activities for Desmos, they have this activity called Central Park. And I go in as a teacher, and I just say start activity. And it pops the code up on the board, or like on my projector. Kids, kind of like Classflow, they go to the website it tells them to go to, they put in the code, put in their name, and it walks them through this activity, and they're moving parking lot divisions. And they're writing their own equations to talk about how wide a parking space should be and how many parking spaces fit in a certain dimension. And they're writing their own equations as they will go through the activity. There's also activities for those high school folks out there that are called polygraphs, and they have one for lines, they have one for parabolas or quadratics, and then they have a couple of others. And it pairs up the students as they join your class, and this takes no signing up, no accounts. All you do as a teacher is you go to that activity and you go to the polygraph lines activity and click start, and it gives a code out to your students see the code and they go and sign in. And then it pairs students up. And then they ask each other a question. And it's almost like playing Battleship, but with the slope of a line, or with the the y-intercept of a line. And so they're learning about the kind of features of the equation of a line by playing this game, and you can hear them shouting out to each other in class because they're paired up with different students every cycle. And you gave me the wrong clue for that one, and they're having to give each other's clues to figure out each other's line. And these are like simple to start using. So if you have some time, check out the teacher Desmos activities as well as just the Desmos graphing calculator. These Desmos teacher activities are really, they're new, and they're kind of really neat. Any thoughts or ideas about those? The other thing I just wanted to make sure that I mentioned was the Classflow. So Classflow is free, and instead of going to the site that we went to that had /students, you go to classflow.com, and when you go there, you set up your account as a teacher, and they have a really good support area where you can watch videos. Their YouTube channel has like a whole series of videos to walk you through it. But the other thing is that in the archived area of the OTF Connect sessions, just, I don't know if it was weeks or months ago, a couple of months ago maybe, I did a session on Classflow. And so there's an hour-and-a-half recording there that you can go and watch and kind of work through that goes through setting up your Classflow lesson as a teacher. Because like tonight you use it as a student. So now you have a feel for how it feels as a student, and you can decide if it's worth your time to learn how to actually use. If it is worth your time how to use, then go and watch that archive or take a look, at the videos. But Classflow is entirely free and is great. Any thoughts as we kind of wrap up? Oh, good. I did a lot of talking tonight. Sorry. Ooh, radical math. I'll have to go play that.
Okay, before everyone flies out, I know your brains are buzzing with all kinds of different ideas here. Here's our thank you slide. So thank you all for attending and participating tonight, and thank you, Jacqueline, again for leading a great exploration of ways to encourage and teach through problem solving for the intermediates, but I can see lots of ways to apply things at other levels as well. And I can see that there's probably going to be some conversation that continues on after this through your Padlet and Twitter. Make sure, Jacqueline, maybe drop your handle in there again. Oh, it's actually with your name. Never mind. Jacqueline's got tons of stuff out there, and definitely go and explore the OTF Connects past webinars and resources page. I'm going to drop that link in here. It's getting a bit unwieldy, I admit, the list here. But look down the list for other sessions that Jacqueline has presented. Her name will be on the right-hand side. I'll pick a couple of the most relevant ones for tonight, including the other math ones and Classflow, and make sure those are on the resource page for tonight, which I do have the link for that up and ready, although that page is not complete yet. But here it is, tonight's resource page, and I would like to spell the word tonight correct. There you go. And you can go there. Everything that Jacqueline has shared is on there or will be on there. And Jacqueline, you said we could share the slides, so there'll be a link to the slides where you'll get everything as well. And but please do take a minute and fill out that feedback survey. Just go ahead and click on the big orange Google link in the center of the page. And we definitely appreciate all the feedback and input that you give to help build the program more. And we do hope to see everyone again soon. These are the sessions that we've got coming up. Oh, I never deleted yours at the top. I never get that right. Anyway, tomorrow night we have a session with the 4th R folks discussing safe social media with students. And you can see throughout May we've got quite a number of other sessions as well. Some more math and Jacqueline's, wait a minute, do we still have? No, we're all good. This is Jacqueline's last session of the season, and but we've got lots more coming up. So if you see anything there or something that you think a colleague might enjoy, please do let them know about it, and go to the website and find more as well. So thank you all so very, very much, and we'll see you soon.